that is fortified foods. This is particularly important for the examination because there is renewed push for introducing fortified foods. So initially we'll see what is fortification of food. So fortification is the practice of deliberately increasing the content of an essential micronutrient, that is vitamins and minerals, including trace elements, in a food so as to improve the nutritional quality of the food supply and provide a public health benefit with minimal risk to health. So all these words are very important when it comes to the definition of fortification. Now we will look at each of this individually. So it is a practice of deliberately increasing. That is, we will intentionally increase the concentration of certain element in the food. It is not accidental or it is not natural. So for example, we take a crop that grows naturally and has higher concentration of certain nutrient. That is not called fortification. Fortification is only if we deliberately increase the concentration of a substance. For example, if we add iodine in salt, that is, we are doing it deliberately, intentionally, so that can be called fortification. Next comes the content of essential micronutrients. So what are micronutrients? Here we need to understand there are two types of nutrients important for the human body, that is macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients include our carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Micronutrients include vitamins and minerals. So why is it macro and why is it micro? Macronutrients are macro because they are needed in greater quantities for the human body. Micronutrients are needed in less quantity but are very essential for human body. So these are called micronutrients. So essentially in fortification, we add only micronutrients, not macronutrients. For example, iodized salt. Iodine is a mineral. So it is a micronutrient. It is an essential micronutrient. So only micronutrients are involved in fortification of foods. Next comes so as to improve the nutritional quality of the food supply and provide a public health benefit. So we'll take the example of iodized salt. So after addition of iodine, it has improved the quality of food supply, that is the quantity of iodine intake by the population has increased because we have added iodine in the salt. So it has resulted in a public health benefit. What is the public health benefit? We all know iodine deficiency will cause thyroid problems, particularly called goiter. That is, when iodine is not there, the thyroid gland does not work properly and it leads to goiter. If thyroid gland does not work properly and it does not produce the hormones, it will lead to decrease in the bodily functions. So that is goiter, and if there is iodine deficiency in the food intake, it will become a public health problem. That is, if many people are having the same thyroid problem, it becomes a public health issue. So by adding iodine in salt, we have improved the quality of food supply and have also had this public health benefit. That is, the incidence of goiter in the population has considerably decreased. In fact, this is one of the success stories of food fortification. It has been very successful in reducing iodine deficiency. In fact, almost 70% of the world population has been shown to improve in terms of iodine deficiency after iodized salt has been introduced. Now, fortified foods has been in news recently because the government has taken a decision to introduce fortified rice. What is fortified rice? So, fortified rice has been added with 3 micronutrients. We all remember micronutrients are both vitamins and minerals. So, what is the mineral added? The mineral added is iron. What are the vitamins added to fortified rice? Vitamin B12 and folic acid. These two are vitamins and this is a mineral. So these two micronutrients are added to rice artificially. That is, after harvesting the rice, these are added in a mill to the rice so that any person who takes this fortified rice will get the health benefits that will come from the addition of these micronutrients. So why is this decision taken now? So recently we have also seen National Family Health Survey 5 has come out. The incidence or the prevalence of anemia has increased. It is almost 56%. So we have seen that anemia is increasing in the country. So how to combat anemia? Anemia is primarily caused by deficiency of iron, vitamin B12 or folic acid. These are the 3 important food contents that will help improve the condition of anemia. So to combat this increasing prevalence of anemia, Government of India has started fortified rice is to be distributed under various government schemes, including PDS and midday meals in schools by 2024. This fortified rice is also a part of our Anemia Mukt Bharat. And National Poshan Initiative or National Poshan Mission. So this fortified rice introduction is in line with our schemes of Anemia Mukt Bharat and National Poshan Mission. These also aim to improve the condition of anemia in the general population. So for prelims examination, we need to correlate these 2 schemes, that is introduction of fortified rice, what are the contents of fortified rice, and what are the other schemes that aim to improve anemia in the country, that is Anemia Mukt Bharat, National Poshan Mission, there is another National Iron Initiative. All these programs are aimed at reducing the anemia prevalence in the country. So we have seen what are the different kinds of fortified foods and how and what is the relevance in the current affairs part of fortified foods. Now we will see certain benefits and concerns regarding fortified foods. This can also be important for prelims as well as for mains examination. So if we see what are the benefits of fortified foods. So it tackles hidden hunger. So what is hidden hunger? So we see that malnutrition is generally calculated by underweight. How many children are underweight? How many have undergone stunting, wasting, etc. So these are the macro indicators by which we measure malnutrition or hunger. For example, Global Hunger Index measures these indices, but it does not measure certain deficiencies in micronutrients. That is, the child might have enough carbohydrates, enough proteins and enough fats, but the child may not be getting enough proteins and minerals. So he will not be having underweight or stunting or wasting, but he will have anemia or he will have other vitamin deficiency diseases. So it will not be seen as a hunger problem. So it will be hidden. So these micronutrient deficiencies will lead to hidden hunger. So fortification of foods in which we add micronutrients, we can tackle that hidden hunger. Next comes socially acceptable way to improve public health. So if we see, we already have programs like administration of iron and folic acid tablets to adolescents as well as pregnant women. But we see there is high prevalence of anemia both among adolescents and even pregnant women. So why is it not helping as much as it should? Because taking a tablet is generally not very much socially accepted. People might believe that taking external medications might not be good for their health. So they might think twice before taking a tablet. But if we have fortified foods, for example, we have added iron in rice itself. In that way, pregnant women will have that intake of iron. So it becomes socially acceptable among the general population. At the same time, we'll improve the public health condition. Next comes fortified foods are cheaper options to combat certain problems. For example, iodine deficiency. Iodine deficiency, if the person gets a thyroid problem, a goiter, it will become very costly for us to treat it. At the same time, if we have to give iodine tablets, if the person has to approach a doctor to get himself treated or to get himself protected from such iodine deficiency disorder, he will have to pay a lot more. But we have seen that iodized salt is very cheap. At the same time, it is very effective to prevent iodine deficiency disorders. The same is true for even fortified rice. If the patient has to buy iron and folic tablets, it will be costlier than just giving fortified rice, which will already have iron. So this is a cheaper option. So these are some of the benefits of fortified foods. But it is not all positive when it comes to fortified foods. There are certain concerns and challenges that await the introduction of fortified foods. So we'll see what are some concerns when it comes to fortified foods. So the first one is it may distort the balance in diet. So what is this distortion in the balance in diet? For example, the patient or the person is already taking external supplement. For example, iodine he is already taking because he has gone to the doctor. But he will also get iodine through iodized salt. Now we cannot see many options in the market where the salt is not iodized. It is almost universally accepted that salt is always iodized. So the patient will get iodine from the doctor because he is taking external medications. At the same time, he is also taking iodized salt. This might lead to increase in iodine content in the body. So it will distort the balance. At the same time, if we say that we have fortified rice with iron, but we all know that rice is rich in carbohydrates. Rice is rich in carbohydrates, and it is generally suggested that patients with cardiovascular diseases or obesity should decrease their rice content because it is very rich in carbohydrates. But now that we have fortified rice with iron, there is also some advice that he should take fortified rice. So now there is a problem. So what if a patient with diabetes or cardiovascular problem takes a lot of rice, fortified rice? He or she thinks that it is good for his health because it has iron, folic acid and vitamin B12. But at the same time, it will also cause his diabetes or cardiovascular diseases to aggravate them. So there will be distortions in the balance of diet. So he will think that it is good for him, but it is actually not. So there will be that distortion in the balance in diet. Next comes difficult to withdraw. Now we have already seen that iodized salt is universally available and almost exclusively available. We cannot see salt that is not iodized. So this is one problem with such fortified foods. So even if one day we have almost tackled thyroid problems in the population, it becomes very difficult to withdraw iodized salt from the market. So this is a problem. So now that we have fortified rice with iron, and one day we have actually tackled problem of that vitamin B12 deficiency or folic acid deficiency in the future, we cannot withdraw fortified rice from the market. It is very difficult to change the market conditions once we have introduced certain item into the market. So that is a problem with fortified foods. So the next problem is it can promote junk food. So if we see certain companies producing junk food like chips, etc., can add certain micronutrients like vitamin A or D and say that it is good for health. Now that we have given education to the population that adding vitamins is good for their health, they will also think that such junk food is also good for health. But that is not the case. So this can be used by such companies to promote their own products. So this is also one of the concern with fortified foods.